If you are a CEO or a CRO of a startup who's struggling to close deals, you might be missing something. You're missing someone who can translate the business needs into technical requirements. And that's where solution engineers come in. But you're not looking for any solution engineer. You're looking for the right solution engineer, someone who has experience and can help build an SE organization. But how are you going to find the right one if you have no experience in solution engineering? First off, let's explain what solution engineering is, especially if you're new to the channel. And if you are new, hey, solution engineering is the process of solving a business problem with technology. And solution engineers are the folks who do that. Now, I know in some startups, the CEO might be doing the SE type work. In last week's video, I talked about the mistakes that CEOs and CROs do at startups, and that is one of them. You might have the most brilliant CEO ever. They can figure out anything. But having a CRO do SE type work is like asking the owner of a basketball organization, an owner of an NBA team, to go and play the game. So you really need to hire a solution engineer. And in this video, I'm breaking it down into 3 parts, starting with when to hire. This should be pretty simple. You hire your first SE when you hire your first AE, or salesperson. SE stands for Solution Engineer, AE, Account Executive. You probably know that, but we're taught to never use acronyms. So if you're the CRO, though, and you are the first AE, then you should just go and find an SE. And you can see a lot of experienced CROs, whenever they move from one startup to the next startup, they usually bring their partner SE with them, and they look like a couple, just going from one place to the next together. So if you don't have that, I would highly suggest that you find your SE partner, someone that can help with everything related to solution engineering, which is more than just demoing a product. Now, why do I say that you have to hire one at the beginning? Well, whoever's hired to be the first SE has to build an SE process. When are they part of discovery? What's the handoff like between the demo and a proof of concept, or closing the deal and also handing off to implementations or customer success? If the SE comes late and there's already 10 AEs, there could be one process if the company has a very strong CRO, or there could be 10 sales processes that each salesperson is doing on their own. And now the SE has to figure out how they can integrate the right pre-sales process into the sales processes, which ends up being janky. And because SEs are folks who translate the business into technology and vice versa, and they get to meet with customers, they tend to help a lot in the marketing aspect of things. So if you have a marketing team who need to have customer stories, the SE is the best person to actually help them with that marketing versus a salesperson, because they don't understand the intricacies of the customer's technical problems that might be causing the business problems. So having an SE there can help in more than just selling. It could be lead generation as well, post-sales support. There's a million things that SEs do, but check out last week's video and don't fall into some of the mistakes that I mentioned there. The question of hiring the next SE is a little bit more trickier, and there are a little bit more things to consider. How much do they cost? Commission, benefits, base. If they exceed quota, how much accelerators are they going to have? If they're traveling a lot, their hotel, their flights. So these are things that need to be taken into consideration. Also, their initial investment. They're going to come in, they might not know everything, they're going to need time to ramp up and be productive. How much money can they help bring in? How well can the existing SE onboard them? If they're going to come in and have to create everything from scratch, maybe it's better to invest time in the current SE to build an onboarding process, which is another thing they should be doing, before they actually onboard everybody. How long before they're effective? What is their lifetime value? Startups think about the customer lifetime value, but we also need to think about the SE lifetime value. How long are they going to be with the company? How much money are they going to make that company during that time? Because right now the trend is SEs move every 2 years. So you have 2 years, how much money can you make off of them in those 2 years, and how much would they cost? If it's going to cost to ramp them up more than they're going to make, maybe it's not a good idea to hire an SE to begin with. Generally speaking, when you're hiring an SE team, which is an SE and a salesperson, their revenue should be higher than how much they're going to make. And if you're going for experienced folks, we're talking about around $500,000, $600,000 annually in costs just to pay those SE and AE. So how much money will they generate in terms of revenue? Also, what are the other expenses that are not calculated? For example, marketing expenses, or we have to pay our developers. If the sales team is not making enough money for us to pay our developers, that's another problem. So those are things that you have to consider. According to the research online, the cost of an SE team or a sales team should be between 20 to 25% of the revenue they generate. So for a 600K fully loaded cost, they should generate over $2.5 million almost. And also, can an SE support more than one AE? Because if they can, the cost of a sales team reduces. Now you're splitting an SE into two. So instead of having 600K per sales team, you're having around 450K per sales team. So that helps. The next part is, how do you find your candidates? The first thing you should do before going out and looking for candidates is defining who the best candidates are. What does a great SE look like to you? If you're looking for information, I'm going to leave a link in the description below for an evaluation form that I use to help my SEs understand where they sit and the SE leaders to understand where their SEs sit. So you can take a look at that and see, does that look like the SE that I want? So create your ideal SE profile, what tech is needed, or what technology knowledge is needed, what technology experience is needed, what can we teach, what can they learn, what are their accomplishments. If you look at the sales to technical sliding scale, are they more on the salesy side, or are they more on the technical side? Are they strategic, or are they tactical? If you want them to build the SE process, then they have to be more strategic, which might mean they're not less tactical, which also means they're less technical sometimes. So keep that in mind. Once you have that, if you've never hired an SE in your life, or you've never worked with SEs, or you've worked with SEs but you don't know what they actually do, I highly suggest you outsource that part. We try to save money by taking on tasks that we're not experts in, where there is an expert right next door or right a Zoom call away that can come in and help us with all of this. And I know John Hodgson personally from Bright Dynamics. He's a great pre-sales recruiter, dedicated and focused on pre-sales. So I'm not affiliated with him. I don't get a commission if you do call him. So check him out. I'll leave a link to his LinkedIn in the description below. Maybe just have a chat and figure out like what is a good SE, or what does a good recruiting process look like. And I'll talk about my best recruiting process on the bottom. So that's one. Two, talk to SE leaders. There are a lot of SE leaders on LinkedIn. There's a lot of SE leaders potentially in your network that you may or may not know about. You can reach out to them and they can help guide you. If you don't know what the ideal SE profile looks like, they can help you. Maybe they're looking for a job. You never know. So reach out to those. Go on LinkedIn and talk to whoever is active and from an SE perspective on LinkedIn. There's a million SEs out there right now. A few years ago, you wouldn't have found an SE on LinkedIn. Now, all of us are on LinkedIn. All of us are chatting. All of us are sharing our opinions, and we're all opinionated. So you can chat with us, chat with any SE in your network, and see what they think. The third part is how to interview. I've been through good SE interview processes, and I've been through horrible SE interview processes. Something to keep in mind. You're a startup. You don't have any proven ground. You're enticing people based on the potential to make a lot of money. So from a leverage perspective, it's not all in your court. You're going to have to share it, especially if you're looking for the right SE who's a superstar. You're not looking for an SE straight out of university, which means the best thing you can do is show them respect their time, and close the deal as fast as possible without ghosting them. Even if you don't want to hire them, let them know. The bad interview processes I've been through took 6 months. And in the end, I had to say, you know what, I'm done. The great interview processes I've been in took a month. The latest one that I've been in, where I currently work, was 3 interviews if you don't count the recruiter, because the recruiter round is really nothing. But it was a chat with the hiring manager where we just had discussions. Technical round with an SE. In your case, if you don't have an SE, it could be with a product manager. And the product manager should be looking at what the SE currently knows, how they can explain things, and what they can learn, or their history of learning. and then one presentation panel interview, where it's like 15 to 20 minutes of presentation, and then the rest of the time is just chatting with the sales leadership along with the SE leader, so that the sales team can ask their sales questions. So in your case, it would be the hiring manager, which is probably you, a product manager, and the CEO, CRO, and another SDR or whoever is on the sales side. Even if you want the product manager to come back in, they will be part of the panel, and they can ask different questions from different areas and see how the person thinks. If you don't do that, if you don't close the deal faster, the longer the deal goes, the less interested the SE will become, and also they might find a better opportunity elsewhere. So that's costing you money. You're investing time in interviewing a person that you're going to blow the deal on. And you don't, generally speaking, get more information by having more interviews. I've had one interview process where I talked to the recruiter, all right, doesn't count, talked to the SE manager, talked to 3 SEs, each of them asking me the same questions that the previous one asked, and even the hiring manager asked. The sales director and the salesperson who asked me the same questions the SE manager asked, and then then in a demo, and they still didn't make a decision, just because that's their process. They still needed to go through 3 other people presenting that were on the short list. If you're a CEO, CRO, and this is resonating with you at all, you're in the same boat, and you think, you know what, hiring an SE is too hard, I agree, and you would like to try before you buy, give me a call. We're working on fractional SE model. I'd love your opinion, and maybe we can help. And if you want to see what a great SE looks like, check out the video right here, and I'll see you in a few seconds. Otherwise, get back to work. Peace.